contract in place. I will offer you right now $3 million for the entire company.
Wow.
To brutal beatdowns.
Mark, are you allergic to positive, negative ion stuff?
No, I'm allergic to scams. Seriously, this is not new. It's been disproven. It's a joke. It's a scam. It's not real. I'm out.
And crazy crash outs.
I would take an offer from anybody besides Mr. Wonderful.
You. Worst presentation ever. I'm out.
Oh, that was me.
For many, Shark Tank is the best show on TV, and it's easy to see why. It has a predictable yet entertaining format with plenty of drama, suspense, and jaw-dropping moments that leave you glued to your screen, something that's apparent from their views on YouTube alone. What most people don't realize, however, is that beneath the show's spectacle lies a world of manipulation, exploitation, and life-threatening scams. Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries.
I mean, he is right though. Like, that kinds of thing is pretty much good. So, no, pretty much not good. It's even more so. It's amazing. So if you have the opportunity to get what looks like it's going to be big, you just gotta want it, even though it's a threatening thing, right? Even if you have to threaten.
And today, we'll be doing a deep dive into the dark underbelly of Shark Tank, everything wrong with the show, its sharks, and the contestants. Now, some of these missteps can be chalked up to nothing but mistakes, but as you'll see by the end of this video, a few of them were deliberate offenses that ended up ruining lives.
He wiped out our business bank account. There was about $100,000 in there at the time, and he mailed us a check for $8,000.
For those who haven't seen the show before, Shark Tank is a reality TV show where aspiring entrepreneurs pitch their business idea to a panel of wealthy investors known as sharks, in hopes of securing a life-changing deal. The show first premiered in 2009 as the American adaptation of the Japanese show Tigers of Money. The same Japanese show inspired the UK's Dragon's Den as well. While the concept was quite similar, the mere idea of someone potentially making it big thanks to the shark's investment was surprisingly gripping. Viewers also tuned in for every episode to see what creative ideas or products contestants would bring up.
In the 80s, there was the Rubik's Cube. Now introducing the toy of the future. Zipstring!
Huh?
The American version also cut down the hours of boring business negotiations into a more fast-paced, high-stakes back and forth between the sharks and the entrepreneurs. This helped Shark Tank gain mass appeal, making it more and more popular with each new season. However, despite its immense popularity, the show has some glaring flaws that are impossible to overlook. For starters, the sharks aren't nearly as shrewd as they claim to be. Sure, they have the business know-how to sometimes land massively successful deals, like the Scrub Daddy.
I'm gonna take the Scrub Daddy, and you're gonna see it's just gonna attack right into that burned-on mess, scrubbing it right off. And remember, I'm just using water here. There's no chemicals at all, and it's gonna cut right through that. It won't scratch any of your surfaces, but it will clean them beautifully. Now, Scrub Daddy's not really smiling anymore, so I'm gonna put him here in the warm water. In just a couple seconds, voila. He's back to bright, fresh, and clean every time.
Lori Greiner invested over $200,000 for a 20% stake in the company, and it paid off.
I'll go to 20.
We got a deal.
Got a deal.
All right.
Good.
Way to go, Aaron. Woo!
Congratulations.
Thanks, Laura. I'm so excited.
Scrub Daddy became a bigger success than Lori could have ever imagined. By 2024, it had already sold over $700 million worth of products. Unfortunately, for a show about experienced rich business people making smart investments, Scrub Daddy is a rare exception rather than the rule. There are the odd successes here and there, but so many more investments crumble the moment the publicity from a Shark Tank appearance fades away. However, even more frustrating than the failed deals are the ones that all the sharks rejected, only for those companies to explode in popularity and prove them all wrong. like the Lip Bar, a company selling colorful and bright lipsticks. During their pitch, none of the sharks showed any interest in the company, assuming that it would not succeed. Kevin O'Leary even went as far as calling one of the founders cockroaches for what he thought was a terrible idea.
You can't get share. If anybody thought you could sell purple or green lipstick, they do it. They already have the shelf space. They just add another color. And they would crush you like the colorful cockroaches you are. You only have so many minutes on Earth. Don't waste them trying to sell lipstick. I'm out.
While Kevin couldn't have been more wrong. Not only is the Lip Bar still in operation with millions of units sold since their inception, other investors saw the potential that the sharks overlooked, allowing the company to raise a grand total of nearly $16 million in funding. However, the Lip Bar and every other missed opportunity pales in comparison to arguably the biggest fumble in Shark Tank history. Ring. Back in 2013, a company named Doorbot received its chance to shine on Shark Tank. The founder spent the last $20,000 in his pocket to prepare an elaborate set for his pitch on the show. More importantly, the product he was offering also seems like quite the innovation. It was one of the first smart doorbells in the world, allowing people to easily see who was at the door before opening it.
Introducing the Doorbot, the first ever video doorbell built for the smartphone. With Doorbot, you can see and speak with visitors from anywhere.
Jamie, the Doorbot's creator, was quite confident.
Holy shit, that's him, the creator? The normal thing people use nowadays is him, the one making it? Holy shit.
In his product and came in with the mindset of getting a deal. However, this confidence faded away quickly when the sharks failed to see the potential in his company and started dropping out like flies.
I just don't think it's for me. I'm out.
But you're pricing out $199. That price point is going to start dropping quickly as your volumes go up. For that reason, I'm out.
Do that. This company, instead of being worth $7 million, should be worth $80 million, $90 million. I just don't see that progression. And for that reason, I'm out.
If Jamie had listened to the sharks, he would have believed his product was worthless and abandoned the idea altogether. But he trusted his vision and kept pushing forward, rebranding the company to Ring along the way. Then, in 2018, something happened that none of the sharks saw coming. Ring was acquired by Amazon for a whopping $1 billion.
Holy
Ring
shit.
also went on to become the reason for over 20% of American homes having a video doorbell in 2023, compared to just 4% in 2017. Put simply, Ring became a bigger success than any of the sharks ever gave it credit for. As a comment on YouTube pointed out, craziest part of all of this is a few seasons later, he was a guest on Shark for a few episodes. Don't let a few people who don't understand your vision decide your fate. In the end, Jamie likely had no regrets about how things played out. But what if he actually landed a deal? Well, there's a good chance that nothing would have changed, because as it turns out, many of the deals you see on the show don't actually happen. This might sound unbelievable, but it's true. There are so many examples of deals that happen on air only to fall apart after the cameras have stopped rolling. One of the most common reasons behind these failed deals is sadly the sharks' greed. Take Show No Towel for example. Shelley appeared on Shark Tank in March of 2013 with her 2 children to pitch her idea for a new type of beach or water park towel. Her invention allowed kids to run around and have fun without the risk of dropping the towel. After hearing about her struggle after the 2008 recession and the passion she put into this project, Laurie agreed to a deal.
I think I see a ton of me in you. I love your drive. I love your passion. I relate to you. I've been on QVC for 14 years, and I know what it takes I started making everything by hand. I like you so much that actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to write you a check right now. Oh my God.
She cut Shelley a check of $75,000 for 25% equity, $25,000 more than she had originally asked for. This is a dream scenario for any Shark Tank contestant, the best outcome they could hope for. But for Shelley, what seemed like an act of kindness from Lori ultimately cost her the entire business. Because after the camera stopped rolling, Lori went back on her words almost immediately. She changed the deal and started asking for a lot more equity in the business. Shelley had to decline the new offer, resulting in a loss her business never recovered from. This isn't an isolated example either. There are many other companies that never received the cash they were promised on the show for similar reasons. That said, going back on deals is far from the worst thing the Sharks have done to some contestants.
It's been a nightmare. I can't put it any more succinctly, you know.
In December of 2013, former American football player Al Baker went on Shark Tank to secure an investment for his struggling business.
Hi, I'm Al Bubba Baker from Avon, Ohio, owner of the D-Bone Baby Back Rib Steaks. I'm seeking $300,000 in exchange for 15% equity in my company.
Things went surprisingly well for Al. The Sharks loved his ribs, and he ended up walking away with a deal with Damon John. But before he had the chance to celebrate this victory with his family, things took a turn for the worst. At first, things looked fine on the surface. The business stayed operational for many years, with Damon parading it as a multi-million-dollar success. However, in 2023, an LA Times article came out in which Al and his family talked about the struggles they had to face ever since signing with Damon on Shark Tank. It started with Damon changing the terms of the deal, from $300,000 for 30% to just $100,000 for 35%. Al, however, felt pressure to accept the new terms, knowing his business's success depended on this deal, stating, "You're in that environment, you're not asking a whole lot of questions. It's Damon John. My wife and daughter would have killed me if I said I wasn't signing this." Unfortunately, this was only the beginning of Al's hardships. Shortly after he agreed to the far worse deal, Damon appointed his friend, Nate Holtzapfel, to handle the tech side of things, describing him as a quote, internet genius, and putting him in charge of the website, online marketing, and funds management. This backfired almost immediately when the company's website went live only 3 hours before the Shark Tank episode aired on TV, and while it worked, they had to refund 14% of the initial orders because Nate failed to set up sales tax on the website. However, this was nothing compared to his second transgression. You see, Damon left Nate in charge of the accounting, but when Al and his wife asked for financial reports of their business, he didn't comply one bit. When they complained to Damon about this, he shrugged them off completely, stating, "I'm not asking you to kiss him, you know, this is business." They eventually managed to push Nate out of the company, only to end up getting screwed over even worse.
But once we were able to finally have Nate removed from our business, he wiped out our business bank account. There was about $100,000 in there at the time, and he mailed us a check for $8,000. And we requested information on that, a breakdown of where the funds went, and we never received it.
As for Damon, he refused to take any responsibility for what was basically robbery, claiming that Nate, quote, deserved it. In the meantime, Damon also kept presenting Al Bubba Baker as his biggest deal ever with over $16 million in sales. However, Al claims that his family only received 4% of that $16 million. They also received just $2,900 net profit from a $5.8 million deal with Hardee's. They were clearly getting ripped off by Damon. The Baker family still tried to figure things out peacefully, only to get slapped in the face with a lawsuit.
We're thinking to ourselves, hey, Damon, aren't you concerned with where the profits went from the $5.8 million deal? So we're thinking he's gonna align with us to try to figure out where the money went, like just a breakdown of where this money went from $5.8 million. Instead, Damon John band together with the co-packer, Rastelli Foods, to file a lawsuit against us because they wanted to move forward with a Subway deal.
They eventually came to a settlement with Damon, which forced them to sign a confidentiality agreement. Put simply, they can't tell anyone about what Damon did to their business. However, the legal fees from this lawsuit made the Baker family lose their home, restaurant, and even their food truck. Left with no other option, the Bakers decided to break this confidentiality agreement and come out with everything. Their story quickly gained steam as fans of the show were horrified by Damon's treatment of a lovely entrepreneurial family, with one person writing, "I got teary-eyed listening to Al Bubba Baker's story. Watching a millionaire let them lose everything just to pocket an extra million or two is disgusting. There is absolutely no justification for them being shut out of their own business like that. I pray God restores them. Damon denied any wrongdoing.
To address this LA Times article that Al Bubba Baker and Brittany Baker intentionally broke their confidentiality and put out and shopped to this reporter. And at best, it's not true, and that's me being kind. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I want you to always stand up for yourself, no matter what position you get in life, just like I am. Don't sit back and think, oh, the truth is going to set us free because I have the truth, but I'm under confidentiality and I can't put the truth out there in detail. But public opinion also could potentially affect your family, your loved ones, the people that have worked on this project and invested in it. When your family's out there and because of public opinion, these people now, after the LA Times article is out, they're online.
True. What he said is absolutely correct. Even if you have the truth, if you don't let people know the truth and just say, oh, it was gonna be okay because we're the truth one, you're gonna be fucked, bro. You're gonna be completely fucked.
They're harassing me at this point and putting up a lot of falsities, and I will not stand for that. I'm always going to stand up for myself.
He even filed a restraining order against the family, forcing them to take down all past negative comments and preventing them from posting any more, something fans of the show did not like either, with one commenter writing, Damon is a child who can't admit he screwed over poor Al. Fortunately, they did receive some settlement money for their troubles, but after everything Damon put them through, no amount of money could truly make up for the stress, losses, and betrayal they endured. That said, while this case went down as the worst scam by a shark, they themselves aren't immune to getting scammed either, as was the case with the breathometer. In September of 2013, the sharks came face to face with Charles Yim and his revolutionary smartphone breathalyzer called the breathometer.
Let me show you how it works. Simply retract the audio jack, plug it into the smartphone.
I'm really sorry about the
activate the app. Within a matter of seconds, you'll be able to know what your breath alcohol level is. And better
Really?
yet, it can even tell you how long it'll take to sober up. And if need be, you can even hail a cab with a push of a button.
For context, a breathalyzer is a device that measures the amount of alcohol in a person's system, commonly referred to as...
That's the police thing, right? Holy shit. Holy shit. My gosh. Someone's been missing out, bro. Someone really did.
blood alcohol concentration, or BAC. The problem with traditional high-quality breathalyzers at the time, however, was that they were not only expensive, but also bulky and inconvenient to carry around. Charles's breathometer solved both of these issues. The Sharks were so impressed by his little invention that in an unprecedented move, all 5 Sharks invested in the company at the same time.
I accept.
All right.
Wow. That's great.
What they didn't know was that this would go down as one of the biggest mistakes in the show's history.
What?
As a comment on YouTube puts it, little did anyone know Charles was the real shark in that room. Long story short, Charles was lying through his teeth. His breathometer did not work as advertised. Inaccurate readings, a buggy app, and a device that barely worked. These issues were all over the barrage of negative customer reviews. As one user on Best Buy puts it, this product sounds cool but doesn't work at all. No matter what device I tried to put it on, it just didn't work. The app is not compatible with any device I had, and I read similar reviews on other websites about how it didn't work after an update. Charles, however, had no intention on fixing it anytime soon. Instead of working on improving the app and the hardware, he was instead living it big with the money he received from the Sharks.
The guy, Charles, I look at his Instagram and he'd be in Bora Bora. And I look at his Instagram.
This guy's
shit.
Yes.
What?
2 weeks later, and he'd be in Vegas partying, you know, then he'd be on Nectar Island with Richard Branson. And I text him like, what the fuck are you doing? You're supposed to be working. Oh no, I'm networking. Next thing you know, all the money's gone.
All of the Sharks lost the money they invested in his company. That being said, multi-millionaires and billionaires losing a few $100,000 each wasn't the real problem with the breathometer. The real issue was that its failures put innocent lives in danger. You see, breathometer understated users' uses BAC levels, which is misleading at best and disastrously
Holy
dangerous
shit.
at worst. According to the FTC, the company claimed their devices can measure BAC levels from 0.02% to 0.25%, yet they never tested them for beyond 0.02%. Imagine what would happen if somebody became intoxicated and their breathometer suggested they could drive. It likely would not end well at all. So, by airing the breathometer episode without verifying its legitimacy, the Shark Tank producers were partly responsible for whatever accident might have happened, not to mention the sharks who kept promoting it afterwards in hopes of making their money back. In the end, the breathometer company had to refund every customer, making it one of the
Wow.
biggest failures in 16 seasons of Shark Tank.
It doesn't work, but people try it like so many times, boy.
Which brings us to the present day, and the big question is, are the sharks and the show's producers doing anything to make things right? Well, not really. Some of the sharks have found a new way to make money, selling out to literal scams. Damon John, for instance, happily promoted Jason Bond Picks, an online course-selling scammer.
Damon John also endorsed Jason Bond Picks, which, if you guys know stocks, you know what a joke that guy is.
All right, listen, before I contacted Jason, I'm a shark, right? You know I have no problem about, ripping somebody apart or just saying I'm out.
No, you're a sellout for money.
At least with Damon, you can make the argument that he did vet Jason and found him completely legit. Even though there's no evidence for that being the case, it's still possible. Kevin O'Leary, on the other hand, is doing something even worse. He's recklessly endorsing any brand that comes his way without stopping to consider for a second whether he's promoting a scam, all for the low price of just $1,200.
I can't even tell you how many people lately I've seen do this, where they get Kevin O'Leary specifically. He's like the king of this, of these fake shoutouts.
Hi, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank here. Has sold nearly 1,000 different products on Amazon alone. Check out Sophie's book.
Thank you for the kind words, Kevin. So
There it is. You can pretend like the endorsement was all natural. What? I paid for it? What do you mean? This is just what Kevin O'Leary, me and Kevin O'Leary, we're just tight like this. We're just tight like this because he never says it's a sponsorship. He just says it's a shout out. So you can do what this lady's doing and put it in your YouTube ad. Oh, yes. Dude, he has sold out the soul of this show and just been like, hey, it stood for real people making real companies. Forget all that. I'll sell you a shout out for $1,200. You kidding me?
Coffeezilla looked into this back in September of 2020, over 4 years ago, and Kevin is still doing the same thing. The only difference now is that he's upped his price to $1,500 instead. As for the show itself, it's not doing much better either. The thing is, at its core, Shark Tank has always thrived on one simple yet powerful idea: hardworking entrepreneurs getting what they deserve and going from rags to riches. It's the kind of feel-good story audiences love. But that magic is starting to fade. Instead of scrappy underdogs with groundbreaking ideas, more and more new contestants are already well-connected, financially secure, or outright wealthy. One of the most blatant examples of this was when Arnold Schwarzenegger's millionaire son and his already successful ex-wife appeared on the show and landed a deal.
Hi, Sharks. I'm Maria Shriver, and this is my incredible son.
And hi.
Like, the problem about that is that normal people that they talking about, it's not normal. Like, you have 2 years of making the product or something, and like, oh, I have already sold 100,000. What the fuck? That's not new. 100,000.
Sharks, I'm Patrick Schwarzenegger, and obviously this is my amazing mother, but she's also my business partner in our new venture, Mosh.
Yet, despite all of this, Shark Tank isn't going anywhere. Even with its flaws, the show is still widely popular as ever. Its base format is just a bit too entertaining to fail. Watching ambitious entrepreneurs pitch their ideas, whether brilliant or ridiculous, will always be captivating. It's also why even parody videos based on the show rack up millions of views. People love the concept despite knowing it's flawed. Unless something truly catastrophic happens, Shark Tank will keep going strong. Even then, if one of the sharks faces a major scandal, they're easily replaceable. So as long as there are businesses to pitch and deals to be made, the show will always find its way to stay afloat.
Ooh, what a satisfying thing.